Hey, Madison, tell us something we don't know, will you? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about GOP House Rep Madison Cawthorn alleging that he's been invited to cocaine-fueled sex parties in Washington, D.C. from some people that are in government, on the Hill, or something like that. Now, to a lot of people, this is shocking news. This is like, really? DC? That's going on? But to me, I'm not surprised. You guys may or may not know, I'm from Virginia, so I go to DC a lot. No, I've never been involved in anything like that. No, I've never seen it happen in front of me, but I've heard stories. I've been hearing stories for years. This ain't nothing new. Okay, this is just kind of what goes on in DC, and really in kind of big money political circles, especially on the federal level in big cities all over the country, but also possibly right in your own neighborhood, and you don't know what's happening. Right up under your nose is going on, but you're not necessarily privy to all the information. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see and hear Madison respond to a question about House of Cards. Is that show accurate, inaccurate, or whatever? Then you're going to hear his answer, and after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what he said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
I heard a former president that we had in the 90s was asked the question about this. And he gave an answer that I thought was so true. And he said, the only thing that's not accurate in that show is that you could never get a piece of legislation about education passed that quickly.
And everything else is good.
Aside from that, I mean, the sexual perversion that goes on in Washington, I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington with the average age is probably 60 or 70, and I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life. I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get invited to, like, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Yeah. Or the fact that, there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove, addiction in our country. And then you watch them do, a key bump of cocaine right in front of you. And it's like, wow, this is wild.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, do you believe what he said? I believe every single word, because here's a few things. First, why would he lie about that? What's the purpose in lying about that? Why? If you're on the podcast, this is not some kind of super humongous podcast as far as I know. And if I can find the full thing, I'll link to it in the description. It was not on the Young Turks, even though you saw that at the bottom. It was some kind of different podcast. I'll probably place the name right here. But why would he lie on that podcast? For what reason? What's the purpose? They're saying, oh, well, I don't believe him. When I say they, I mean some of the mainstream media. Oh, I don't believe him. Some are going to say they don't believe him. They're going to deny it forever because they don't want that secret to come out. But really, it's an open secret, okay? If you go to DC, you're not going to hear them talk about this kind of stuff. If you go to any place, really, you're not going to hear people that are involved in underground scenes speak about it publicly. Oh, but it is happening. It's a lot of things going on right in your own neighborhood that you would never know about unless, again, you are privy to the information. People do different things kind of on the low, under the radar that you don't know about, okay? This is what goes on. And in DC, it's on 10. And from what I hear, allegedly, a lot of that action is LGBTQ. You have different things going on. You have the older lawmakers, the 70-year-olds he was talking about. You have them doing their stuff. A lot of the boomers, it's them and their wife. They're going to parties and stuff like that with drugs. That goes on. You also have the younger crowd, a lot of LGBTQ people, because in DC, the thing about it is they want more, I think more gays go to DC because they don't have kids typically and they can work longer hours. That's kind of how it goes in DC. All right. This is probably why Pete Buttigieg get one an hour. You understand what I'm saying? It's a little bit deeper than the surface. It's not just, oh, do I believe it? Do I not believe it? Let's look at the whole thing and zoom out, really. Let's look at what goes on in a place like DC, New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, everywhere. A whole lot of stuff is going on. This is why certain things are legal and illegal. Okay. That's why prostitution is currently illegal, because human trafficking is off the chain in this country. It is out of control. But you wouldn't know about that unless you know about it, unless you are interested in looking at some of the police reports and the news stories and really educating yourself about what's going on. You wouldn't really know that it's happening right under your nose, right in your own neighborhood, right in your own backyard. It most certainly goes on. Now, Kevin McCarthy is trying to hold a meeting with Madison about this. He wants to talk to him about the whole situation. Now, I don't know why he wants to talk to him. It's not like Kevin McCarthy don't know what's going on. Of course he does. I'm not saying he's been involved with some of these parties and the drugs. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if he was involved with some of these parties and drugs, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would not be surprised. When you see people on the left and the right and at a federal level, really, when you see them, buddy and hugged up and all of that, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? Just politics only or something more personal? I mean, you tell me. And being married don't even matter because they'd be the main ones involved with the parties. So that doesn't even really matter. You could be married with kids, perfect family, Facebook pictures, click. You got 3 kids and a dog and might pick a fence. That don't matter. You could still be involved in the underground scene. That's what goes on all over the country, but definitely in political places and big money places like a DC. It's a lot of money, a lot of power in one town, okay? Their secrets ain't going to come out. Like, I'll put it to you this way. Madison kind of risked himself by going out there and saying that. There might be kind of a retaliation against him within the GOP. Not even because it's just the GOP that are engaging in it, obviously, because this ain't even a left or a right issue. This is a DC issue. You could be in office on the left, on the right. You could be a government contractor, employee, a friend, a donor. You could be any of those things and still kind of fall up under that umbrella of the drugs and the sex and whatnot. Okay. But Madison put himself at risk. He might mess around and get the Clinton treatment if he keeps on. If he was to come out there with some pictures from the event, oh no, he'd be under somebody's river right now. Allegedly. Not saying I want that to happen, YouTube censors, but you understand what I'm saying. That wouldn't go well at all. That'd be the end of Madison Cawthorn. Whether you take that one way or the other way, that'd be a wrap for him. Okay. And I have just one piece of evidence that I present to the court of public opinion. Remember the guy, Ed Buck? I've done a few videos on him. This guy was is a complete maniac, a murderer, a serial killer, and also a Democratic donor over there in LA. Was buddy with Hillary Clinton and the whole squad over there, right? Giving out big money. What he was doing was basically taking black men, he was white. He took black men that were gay from the street. Maybe they were homeless. Maybe they were just sex workers. I'm not really sure. But what he would do is inject them with drugs to see their reaction. He would get off on that. 2 of the guys, I think, died. I know at least one guy died. I think another one died as well. And a third one escaped. So you got multiple dead black men in this man's house. Now, if this were anybody else, he'd be considered like a Klansman. You got 2 dead black men in your house or in your apartment in LA, and you put drugs in them for fun, like that'd be considered something like Dr. Kevorkian. You'd be considered a complete and just total monster. But see, the thing is, that kind of stuff goes on in the quote unquote scene. Maybe not to that extreme, but the kind of guys that were at his apartment and the kind of guy that is Ed Buck, these guys exist in a lot of these places all over the country. Okay. Atlanta, Georgia is crazy too. Not quite as crazy as Ed Buck, maybe, but it's crazy down there. All over the country, this goes on. So Madison didn't really say to me, I already knew about all this. This is not a revelation to me that DC's like this. Okay. But to some normies, it could be very shocking. And to the political world in DC, they're like, oh man, you snitching. You snitching real hard. We can't have this. So now you got to have Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy coming out and saying something about it lets me know that he's trying to cover it up because there's no other reason to come out there and say something publicly like that. All right. If you want to talk to him behind the scenes. If some of y'all have your parties behind the scenes and underground, talk to him that way. There's plenty of communication that happens off the record that we don't know about in between lawmakers in DC. There's a lot of that goes on. You don't have to publicize everything you're going to do or say. if I just found somebody in the street and start talking to them, that does not have to be on my YouTube channel or in the press release. It could be between us and keep it right there. Something like, hey, how's your day? How's everything going? That's just between me and that person, and that's it. Keep on moving. It could be the same thing with Kevin McCarthy and Madison Cawthorn, but he wants to publicly come out there and say, oh, this ain't going on, to try and put it back on the wraps. But again, it's an open secret. Everybody knows. So ain't no point in trying to put the genie back in the bottle at this particular point in time. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Madison Cawthorn said? You think he's lying? Think he's telling the truth? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Of course, that was true. Everybody knows it. The House of Cards is accurate. I think even Slick really said that to, who was the guy? Kevin Spacey, who got some problems himself in real life. You know what I'm saying? Bill Clinton even said allegedly to Kevin Spacey that it's true. It's accurate. And I think the only thing that they may have gotten wrong was you cannot pass an education bill that quickly, but everything else is right on point. I've seen it with my own two eyes in the lower level. I've heard many stories over the years. I know people that are different behind the scenes. It just is what it is. Some people say, hey, AB, you want to get in politics? I'm like, I don't know. The federal stuff is corrupt, period. That's why Trump was there. That's why both sides had an issue with Trump, because Trump wasn't really part of that weird DC culture. Okay, he wasn't really part of that. Local politics, that's really where I focus on. The federal stuff, it's dirty like that, and it needs to get cleaned up. And the drugs and the sex part is just a piece of it, not even the full dirty picture. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.